Do you want to know the future? A lot of people wish they did, and then they do something like what Biff Tannen did in Back to the Future 2. They'd place a bet on who would win the World Series before the season even started. In Revelation 21 and the first bit of 22, we find the vision of our future. And understanding this future will be infinitely bigger than the millions that you'd get from some long odds World Series bet. Most of the apocalypse of Jesus Christ has been about the present. We are now going to get a glimpse of not so much the future, but of eternity. What does John see in our eternal future? He sees a city in a new creation. What John sees and what we see is not the end of creation, but the beginning of a new creation. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. The Bible starts with the creation of heaven and earth, and the Bible ends with the creation of a new heaven and a new earth. Reality has been remade, redeemed, made whole through the sacrifice of Jesus. And then the city comes down from heaven like a beautiful bride, dressed for her husband. I saw the holy city, the New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. John's original audience knew about cities, and so do we. They knew that cities are pretty Babylon-y. Cities are full of crime, greed, sexual sin, secularism, screwed up priorities, stress, poverty, drugs, noise, impatience, pollution, despair. The Bible trashes cities all the time. If God were to make a new heaven and a new earth, shouldn't he be restarting in the garden? Gardens are peaceful and green and quiet, and you can just reach up and pick something and eat it. But that's not what we see at the end of the Bible's story. The new creation is a city. And did you notice that this city is coming down from heaven? This means that we didn't do it. We didn't build it. God did. God made it. It's his new work of creation. And this city is a gift of grace. In his book Discipleship on the Edge, Darrell Johnson's approach to discussing this city is to first look at what isn't in the city, and then to look at what is there. So what's not in this city? Here's verse 1. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. What's not there? There is no sea. John is not saying that there is no longer a sea or an ocean in the new creation. The sea in this passage does not refer to a large body of water. In biblical literature, established in the first verses of Genesis, the sea represents the forces of chaos. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. The Creator God brings order out of the chaos that threatens to undo us. And in the new creation, in the new city, these forces of chaos are gone. The catastrophic storms, tsunamis, earthquakes, crashing airplanes, car accidents, hunting accidents, school shootings, all gone. So what else is not there? Well, what's not there is tears, death, and pain. Here's verse 4. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. This is what we want. Think of all the reasons for which you have shed tears. These things are all gone. Think of all the things that have caused you any kind of pain. Gone. Think of all the things that cause that long, drawn-out kind of sadness and despair and helplessness. The things that just wouldn't go away. Gone, gone, gone. What else is not there? Well, some character traits and behaviors. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all the liars, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. The next thing that Johnson says is not there is character traits and behaviors that are inconsistent with the kingdom. But that's way too long for my graphic. So let's shorten it to the cowards and the liars. And you'll see why in just a second. What are the character traits that are not in the new city? We find these in verse 8. We have similar lists given to us elsewhere in Scripture. Lists of the kinds of behaviors that will make those who exhibit them not inherit the kingdom. The warnings are out there, but now things have gotten serious. John starts with cowards and he ends with liars. John is giving cowards and liars more emphasis by starting and ending with them. Everything between is Babylonness. So why do the cowards and the liars get special attention? This is not a general condemnation of cowardice and lying. These two things are very relevant to Christians living in the Roman Empire. Remember, they were living under some tremendous pressure. To avoid this pressure, all they had to do was go to the temple once a year and declare that Caesar is Lord while they tossed some incense on the altar. But if they didn't do that, they could be hauled into court and there to be pressured to change their minds, sometimes with very hard forms of persecution. If it wasn't this kind of direct pressure, there was all kinds of indirect pressure, social and economic pressures. The fear of this kind of pressure made it very tempting to lie. Cowards and liars. It would be cowardly to lie, right? To say that Caesar is Lord when you know that Jesus is Lord? Cowards and liars won't be there because they turned their back on the one who holds the future. But you need to understand that John is not talking about a particular person who on a particular day caved into the pressure. Jesus is much more merciful than that. We are talking about the people who are consistent cowards and liars. These cannot be in the company of the one who is faithful and true. Now we're going to pop back to verse 7. Those who are victorious will inherit all this, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. This verse is about who will be in the new city. They are there because they are victorious, because they overcame, because they are conquerors. In the New King James Version, verse 7 says this, He who overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. It's almost always appropriate to translate the word son in the original text to son and daughter. But this isn't one of those occasions. It's true that God has sons and daughters, but in this verse it needs to be understood as son. And the reason is that in Revelation, my son means Jesus. So the overcomers, the victorious ones, will be called my son. They will have the same status as Jesus, whether they are male or female. So the NIV doesn't translate this one quite the right way. The victorious, the ones who are not cowards or liars, will have the same status as the Son of God. And what status is that? He's the King of the kingdom. And that means that the overcomers will be co-regents in this new city. There will be no one in the new city that isn't a co-regent. That blows me away. So what else is not in the new city? The temple isn't there. If we jump down to verse 22, we read this. And I saw no temple in the city, for its temple is the Lord God, the Almighty, and the Lamb. The Jews in John's day would be knocked over by this. What? No temple? You have to have a temple. From the Jewish perspective, if God is to be in that holy city, there has to be a temple. It can't be otherwise, because God dwells in the temple. So what gives? The temple is no longer a particular, clearly identifiable place. The city itself is the temple. The whole new creation is the temple. And God dwells in it, and He's everywhere. We've got to go back a few verses. John describes the city temple in verses 11 to 21, and we find the measurements for it in verses 16 and 17. The city lies 4 square. Its length is the same as its width. And he measured the city with his rod, 12,000 stadia. Its length and width and height are equal. He also measured its wall, 144 cubits by human measurement, which is also an angel's measurement. There's something very unique about this city. Like all cities, it has a particular length and a particular width. What's unique about this city is that it's perfectly square. That's not usual. But that's not all. This city also has height. And it's not like one of our cities where it has some height because the buildings go up into a third dimension, just a little ways. The city of God is as high as it is long and wide. This city is a cube. I know, I thought of the Borg right away too. But get that idea out of your head. This is an illusion. It points to the dimensions of the Holy of Holies in the old temple. The Holy of Holies was a cube, the inner sanctuary in which God chose to dwell. Here's the description of it from 1 Kings. The inner sanctuary was 20 cubits long, 20 wide, and 20 high. He overlaid the inside with pure gold. The new city is not only the new temple, it's the new Holy of Holies. John gives us more numbers. Like all the numbers in Revelation, these too are symbolic. Some English translations of the Bible give modern units of these measurements. For instance, there is a version of the Bible that converts the 12,000 stadia to 1,500 miles. Oh, come on! By doing this, the whole point is obscured. It doesn't matter if it's in miles or kilometers or the wingspan of 46 average albatrosses lined up tip to tip. The meaning is not in the unit, it's in the numbers. The length, width, and height of the new city is 12,000 stadia. The number 12 is symbolic of God's people, 12 tribes of Israel, God's Old Testament people, and the 12 apostles who represent Jesus' New Testament people. The city has 12 gates, and each gate is named after one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And its 12 foundation stones are named after the 12 apostles of the Lamb. 12,000 whatevers is 12, the number of God's people, multiplied times 10, the number of completeness, times 10 times 10. In the language of these biblical numbers, this city is a complete, really, really, really big city that is the fulfillment of all God's covenant promises to His people. Doesn't that just give you the chills? 1,500 miles means nothing unless you live in Houston and want to drive to LA. John also gives us the measurements of the city wall. It's 144 cubits by human measurement, which is also the angel's measurement. There is at least one version of the Bible that translates this into 72 yards. Oh, come on, no! It doesn't matter that we no longer know what a cubit is. All the meaning is in the number, not in the unit. 144 is 12 times 12. 12 tribes, 12 apostles. It's just the right size for all of God's people to live in. The cube city is the Holy of Holies, so it's the most sacred place in the whole cosmos. This is where God dwells, where He reveals His glory. There is no need for a temple. What else is not there? The sun and the moon are not there. Verse 23 says, "The city does not need the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp." This text doesn't actually say that there will be no sun or moon, so they might be there. It says that there is no need for them. God is everywhere in His city, and so is His glory. If you have that, you don't need any other source of light. Is there anything else not there? There are no closed gates. The city is not a jail. It's not a special place that others need to be kept out of. There is no group of people that need to be kept out based on any possible lack of status that we can possibly think of. So why does this city have gates if they aren't ever going to be closed? The gates are named after the 12 tribes of Israel. And that's because Israel has finally fulfilled its purpose. The people of Israel were God's chosen people. They were specially chosen to be a blessing to everyone else, to all the nations. They were to live in obedience to God. And because of that, God would shower blessings upon them, and all the other peoples of the world would see what is necessary for human beings to flourish. And they would all come to God, their Father. Israel was chosen for the sake of the Gentiles. It was their raison d'être. Israel didn't fulfill this mandate very well. They thought chosen meant to be special and keep God all to themselves. So Israel ceased to be Israel. Like every other nation, they were only interested in their own flourishing. But God had promised that all nations would be blessed through Israel. It was, of course. The plan all along was that the Messiah would come from Israel. And because of Jesus, all the nations of the world would be blessed through Israel. The true Israel is the residents of the city, and the gates are open. What else won't be there? There is no curse. Adam and Eve sinned. They did the one thing that they were not supposed to do. They sought the knowledge that would make them independent from God, and this resulted in the curse. The ground was cursed. It would no longer provide food without toil and sweat. The relationships between men and women were cursed. Men sought to rule over women. Women suffered through childbirth. In the new city, there will be no more curse. Everyone and everything has been set free. Those are the 7 things that are not in the city. Join me next time when we look at what is in the city. And this list is even better. Thank you, and we will see you there.